guys, welcome back to 1237, back with another review. As I continue my kind of another run through of some of the more extreme horror films. And this is one that came in on order just this afternoon. I picked it up today. And it's also one that I had not heard of to Get Movies for this kind of marathon. I was looking through Unearthed Films catalog, and I came across this, never having heard of it, knew nothing about it. I pretty much decided to check it out based on the title and the cover itself, and it is a Japanese film, so I figured, Japanese do not hold back when it comes to extreme stuff. But I figured I'd check it out, and it is the film Brutal from 2017. I don't know how well you can see that cover. But yeah, I saw this and I thought, okay, maybe there's something to it. And I know there's a lot of movies called Brutal. I think there's even an American one that boldly says on the cover, like, the most depraved film ever made. I doubt it. It said that with Chaos as well. Yeah, this was written and directed by Takashi Hirose, and it stars Brutal Butch, Ayano, just one word, Ayano, Takashi Nishina, Katrina Gray, Naho Nakashima, Nanako Ohata, and also I want to get the guy's name because it's a very brief appearance, but Shigeo Osako, he has a very brief appearance as a homeless man. He was the torturous killer in the Japanese torture flick Grotesque, which I have reviewed. And the special effects were done by Taiga Ishino, Yuno Morita, and Chihiro Sano. And the music, because the music was a high point as well. It does not say who did the music. Oh well. The music I really liked. Of course it kicked me out. This is a short movie. It clocks in at 67 minutes. And it's kind of an anthology. Not really, because there is a narrative. But 3 chapters. Man, woman, man and woman. Pretty much when I picked this up, I read the back of it, and it sounded like it was going to be like there's these 2 serial killers, male and female, and then they meet, see what happens. That's what I thought it was going to be. That's kind of how it was playing out. There is kind of a twist. It does feel like there is an underlying message to it. I don't know if it's about toxic relationships or just... Because there's also this recurring couple, or at least a guy that's recurring, talking to a female or a couple females, because they both look different, about relationships and fate and being together. And I don't know if that's like a parallel or what. But you have man who abducts women, keeps them in his apartment, brutally tortures. Well, I say torture, but this is not a gore film. I think people will call it a gore film, but it's not blood and guts, eyeballs, stuff like that. It's basically just a lot of stabbing, beating, and blood, basically. But it's very realistic and well done. I will give it credit. It is trying to kind of look more like a grindhouse film. Like even though it's obvious it's a newer film shot digitally, it does have a gritty, grainy filter put onto it, which is not as effective as, say, a movie like Terrifier or Wolf Creek or All the Boys Love Mandy Lane or something like that, where it actually does look, something grindhousey. This looks like a newer film with the grainy filter put over it. Now, I still liked it. I still enjoyed it. but it wasn't as effective. It's also not shot like a grindhouse film. It really just has the filter. It's shot very, very well. I mean, especially some of the more actiony sequences, like when our killers finally meet. The big final showdown is very well shot as the camera just kind of slowly moves around the room around them, with a lot of it take done in very, you know, long takes. I thought it was all going to be shot in one take, and then there was a couple cuts in there. But it's very well shot. I mean, the first blow in the movie, I think, is a punch to the face, and it is just, a fist coming towards the camera. It is very visceral, brutal violence, so it's not just a gore house flick. But I mean, the man segment is first, and I mean, he is just brutally just punching this woman relentlessly. And I think he has 3 there held captive with him. And a lot of it is effective implied violence. I mean, the camera holds on him as we see him punching down. A lot of what she does to her victims, like she's slashing a guy's face up, but he's standing back too, so we can't see what she's doing. But, the sound, we know she's, really messing up his face. So a good portion of it is implied and effective. It does have some kind of twists or reveals at the end. Ultimately, I'm not quite sure what the ending is trying to say. Broken people will be their own downfall, even in a relationship. Too toxic, too broken people won't make a good relationship. I'm not quite sure what it's saying. In fact, this doesn't have the original tagline. This just says, one man, one woman, pure brutality. I think the original tagline was, some put blood, sweat, and tears into finding true love. This is all about the blood. Kind of clever. But yeah, in the music, I mean, it does have this great bass line with this heavy guitar riff over the opening credits. But then, like, the whole segment of Man, as he's talking to and beating each of these 3 women, there's just like this underlying sort of John Carpenter-esque bass line, just this boom, 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 boom. I can't remember the exact beat, but it's very, it does act as wallpaper. It's just, it never really rises, just stays in the back. Very effective. It does swell up and get very beautiful towards the end. I think this is one of those Japanese horror films that a lot of them do have sadness and tragedy and having great emotional depth in a very tragic way. Even Audition has a lot of sadness and tragedy to it. I don't know if that's what the ending was trying to say, but so we see Man doing his thing, and he likes to ask, "Do you understand what I'm doing?" One girl does offer, "Yes, I'll have sex with you. You're a big, strong man. You're awesome." He doesn't buy into it. He stabs her anyway. But yeah, that's his thing. He brutalizes them and asks if they understand why he's doing it. Then we cut to segment 2, a woman, which does feel more like a story. I mean, it opens up with a montage of her killing a slew of men. And then her just out in the world, she gives money to a homeless man, the killer from Grotesque, goes to a bar where she talks to this one man, talks color the ocean because her drink is blue and his is red. What if the ocean was red? This guy looks more like a killer than I want to see who it actually is. I think that's Brutal Butch. Because, of course, most people don't even have credited characters. But the the main male killer just kind of looks like a, for lack of a better reference, he looks like the Virginia Tech kid. Whereas, uh, have some pictures. Butch, just Butch, or Brutal Butch, I guess, is man. And there's no photos or uh, character credits to tell me who this guy is. I'm guessing it's, even though he's unnamed, but whatever. This guy looks more like a believable, threatening, imposing killer than the main character, which in a way that makes him scarier, but also at the same time making that guy look as average as possible also makes it scarier and effective. But she leaves with him, coming to find out he's bad as well. It doesn't say if he's a killer or just if he's gonna assault her, but he has a knife. They have a fight. She gets the best of him. And I don't know if she ends up stabbing him in the groin or just repeatedly punching him to death in the balls. But afterwards, we see him in the background with a bloody crotch, pants on. Because during the montage, there is a scene of her rapidly stabbing a guy in the crotch. So that is something she does. And we don't really get a motive as to why man and woman are doing these things. The only thing they have in common is they like to make members of the opposite sex suffer as much as possible. Then we get to segment 3, where it doesn't even show how they meet. He's just standing on the side, the sidewalk, sort of looking around. And a lot of this movie is told through, like, extreme close-up. As she walks by, then in slow motion, it implies that they made eye contact. And then we just see them walking together side by side, silently. They get to his apartment, and a fight breaks out. And this is where you can tell, this is a guy that knows. And not to say grindhouse filmmakers aren't talented, but it does feel more like a. I'm trying to think of how I want to say it. It feels like someone that's made, more well-made films, I guess, going into the extreme or going into the underground, because the action scenes are well shot. The whole movie's well shot. It's not shot like a grindhouse film, 70s grindhouse, which I think this was inspired by, hence the filter. But nice swooping cameras around the room, just sort of watching the action unfold. Nice, swift, smooth action. Where he like stops a stab, then he brings his leg up to kick her. Incorporates kind of. I don't really want to say martial arts, but actual fighting. And there is kind of a twist that I didn't see coming. And I guess this is more so where the metaphor takes place. So, spoilers. Can I recommend it? If you have to check out all extreme films or Japanese horror films, I guess check it out. It is worth checking out. Just it's not gory. It is very, very bloody. Not like to an Olaf Ittenbach level. But it is very grounded. It is very realistic in its violence. It's violent in a way that like a Scorsese gangster movie is. I mean, like when Henry pistol whips the guy, or Cheater's Justice in Casino or the baseball bats in Casino. It might not be very bloody and gory, but it's very effective. It's very realistic looking. That's basically this. I mean, it is a lot. There is a lot of stabbing, sure, but it's a lot of punching and kicking, and it is, more blunt. It is more brutal. And I mean, it's only 67 minutes, so even if you don't like it, it's not like it's taking a whole lot of time. But yeah, you can get this from Unearthed Films. So the twist, I guess, the reveal is once they're both bloodied up and she's kind of weakened, he starts to strip, and we see that he's been castrated at some point in his life. He's all healed. And that's when he asks, "Do you understand what I'm doing?" And then he kind of slashes at her. Her clothes fall off, and we see that her nipples have either been burnt or cut off, and her vagina is sewn shut. It has been for a while. So they're both sexually mutilated. It doesn't say how it happened or when, which, thank you for that. Sure, it might have made the movie more extreme, but I like every time something like this happens, it's just enough to know. Like, if this was a modern American film, we would have had flashbacks and we would have had exposition, and actually probably would have got a whole prequel as to how that happened, which is really fucking annoying. Tired of everything getting prequels. I'm tired of everything being more explained than it needs to. Here, we just see that it is what it is. He's sexually mutilated. She's sexually mutilated. That's how they're similar. That's all we need to know. Don't need to know why or how. And, he breaks down, starts crying. The acting is okay. I mean, the guy, Butch, he's really just stoic to angry or crying. Basically it. Or when he's fighting her, and there's just a lot of grunting and growling. She's kind of cold and robotic. Some scenes towards the climax, or in the climax, I guess she does alright. I would say the man she meets at the bar was probably the best actor. Yeah, the acting isn't one of the high points of the film. I would definitely say it's the grounded blood and special effects, and the music and cinematography. But yeah, they embrace each other. She goes up to hug him. And that's where I thought it was going to end. I thought it was like, okay, these two people, they're angry at the opposite sex, or, they want to make the opposite sex suffer because they're sexually mutilated. They found someone that does the same thing for the same reason. I thought it was just going to end there, a twisted love story. Which, speaking of twisted love stories, this movie is 100 times better than Bad Biology by Frank Henenlotter. I know that movie has a fan base. I hate it. I liked this way more. So that's where I thought it was going to end, but no, he still stabs her. And then she keeps stabbing him, but they're still embracing, they're still hugging or rolling over on top of each other in kind of suggestive positions. There are some nice cuts and edits of up close of the knife penetrating the skin in like a rapid a succession, showing that they're still just stabbing each other. And there is a line where he says, "I can't come inside you," because it was a line from earlier with the girl from earlier saying, "You can do that." And he says, "No, I can't." And he kills her anyway. But he says he wants to, and she says, "That's okay. I can feel you inside me anyway." I figured they were talking. I figured she meant the knife being inside her. she was taking that as his love. I don't know. They continue to stab each other, and then it just cuts to black, open back up. Apartment's covered in blood. They're both covered in blood. She wakes up. He's dead. And then she goes outside, or opens the blinds. Close up of her stomach, as if she's realizes she's pregnant, which I don't know how that would happen. And then her kind of saying to herself, like, it's okay. It's going to be okay. Then looks at the camera saying, isn't it? Again, I'm not quite sure what the ending was trying to say. The best I got out of it is, you know, people who are broken relationship-wise, or have been in toxic relationships, whether they were the toxic one or not. You get two toxic people, or two broken people, two damaged people, even if it's for the same thing, the same reason, it's not going to be a good match. They'll still be the downfall of each other. That's just what I got out of it. I could be wrong. But, you know, when they both realize that they have the same afflictions, and it's just close-up of him breaking down, bawling, crying, and the music swells up. It was okay, there's the emotional weight, there's the tragedy, the tragic aspect, but I was still kind of lost on the metaphor itself. I wasn't expecting this to be a gore film. You know, I wasn't expecting this to be another grotesque or anything like that. I was expecting it to just be more violent rather than gory. It is plenty violent, even if some of it is implied, but it is impactful. I mean, every punch, every kick I felt, you know, it did have impact. I love the music. The music was very subdued but effective. And it's short and sweet. It's only 67 minutes. But for a blind buy, not knowing a single thing about it, not even really knowing the plot. I didn't even know the plot until I read the back when I bought it. I'd say I enjoyed it enough. You know, it was a decent blind buy, good blind watch. Bought it solely on the title and the cover itself. But yeah, definitely not one of the best Japanese horror flicks I've seen. I mean, it's better than something like Grotesque. I'd say it has more of a point than Grotesque. But it's no Audition. It's no... what was the other one I watched recently that I really liked? I don't even remember. Oh. Forbidden Door, but that's not Japanese. I appreciate them trying to go for the grindhouse look, but I don't think it was integrated too well, because it wasn't shot like a grindhouse flick. It was shot like a modern Japanese film. And all they really did was add a filter. You know, something that you can do on, like, the prequel app or something. It looks like a digital movie just with some grain put over it, which I still appreciated, I still liked. It just wasn't as effective. But yeah, for what it was, just a twisted love story between these two serial killers, and being more about the visceral violence than the gore, and whatever the meaning was supposed to be, I liked it for what it was. Not a great film, but at the very least worth checking out and owning. So I do got several more to do, several more to get to, several more coming in, extreme films that is. So stay tuned for those, and thank you for watching.